Interestingly enough, what I saw in virtually every patient I was with is that as life starts ending, as death comes closer, everything becomes simplified. Everybody's life is simplified. Now, I don't know anybody here grew up back in the East, but when I grew up, okay, so we know about coal, right? When I grew up, when I was 7, you know, and I would go out and play in the snow, what did my mother do? She would bundle me up with, you know, 28 different layers. I would come into the warm house and, you know, you'd take off the snowsuit, and then you took off the scarf, and then you took off the mittens, and then you took off the jacket, and then the sweater, and you went on and on and on until what was left was a shirt, you know, a pair of underwear, and a pants. And that is probably the perfect analogy to what happens as someone gets closer to death. Their lives become simpler. Things that no longer mattered are shed off. They just aren't important anymore. During the first week of training, I met a woman who was dying of emphysema. And she was there to tell us about the experience of dying. So she knew at that point that she only had maybe 2 or 3 weeks left to live. And she told us about a going away party she gave herself, in which she invited all of her friends. Now, this woman was a fairly well-known poet. And as she described the party where everybody was drinking, and she, of course, was still smoking, because at that point it didn't make a difference anymore. And she talked about she would call up each one of her friends. And as they came up, she would give them a sheet of paper, say something privately to them, and they would go sit down and someone else would come up. And she said to me, what she did was she thought about which person would be most appropriate for each of her poems. So she would give that person, that was her legacy, she would give them the poem. So being, you know, someone new to hospice and not really being as aware as I should have been, I asked her, I said, well, you know, could you recite one of your poems? So she gave me that look that my mother used to look at me like, what a dumb question. But she was better with that. And she said, I can't recite any more of my poems. I gave them away. And it was that process, the simplification of life, that is important as someone gets closer to death. What isn't important goes away.